You right now that's suffering or struggling or going through a problem in your business, in your life, and whatever it is that you're dealing with, the only way I learned to get over my problems is I looked at it from God's perspective. When I looked at my darkest moments of my life, there were nothing more than pivoting points to something so much greater and so much better than I ever thought possible. Every single one of us was created with a purpose. What is your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? It ain't about making money, and it ain't about podcasting, I promise you, and it ain't about building products. That's just gonna get you to where you want, that's your end goal. What is your end goal? And if you don't know where your end goal, man, it's like, I was talking to Damien, it's like getting in a car without a GPS, without a destination. You'll eventually get there, but how efficient were you getting there? You know, it's just, there's a sense of you, like, you've been there, you've done that, but man, there's nothing greater. There's absolutely nothing greater than waking up from a place of gratitude.
So a few months ago, I went to Puerto Rico for an event with a group of investors that I'm a participant in. My friend Ty Lopez put together a syndication over the last year and a half where he was buying up retail brands like Dress Barn and Pier 1, Models, Circuit City, and a bunch of other really big brands. It's really impressive stuff. And I was on one of the, because of this man here, Dinesh, put me in touch with, by the way, if you don't know Dinesh, you probably don't know anyone else in the world because Dinesh knows everyone. So Dinesh calls me and says they're doing this raise and they're buying these brands, and I was the two of us were kind of early in that process and participating in that raise. And they did an investor meetup for their investors just like we do inside of the fund. And so I flew down to Puerto Rico and I'm texting with Dinesh. I'm like, where are you at? I just arrived. And I think my son had just been born. So it was my first trip since having Philip, and I wasn't there for very long, so it was just like, I'm going to go see Dinesh, maximize that time together, and he says, we're down by this pier, and I walk over there, and Dinesh is in a deep conversation with this man that I don't know, but they're obviously having a very impassioned conversation. And within about 30 seconds, I said, this is the most interesting man I've ever met in my life. And we talked for a few more minutes, and Dinesh introduces me to his friend. His name is Adel. And I said, Adel, how fast can you record a podcast? And he said, honestly, I don't think I've ever done one. And I was like, well, I got a mic in my hotel. We should go record one. And he's like, this is creepy. I've known this man for 12 minutes, and he invited me back to his hotel room to record something. Yeah. In Puerto Rico, okay. What a strange person. We developed a friendship over the next 24 hours, and about 24 hours later, I felt like I had known this person forever, and his ability to see a person, to understand people, was amazing. And you only get that emotionally aware, that emotionally intelligent by going through a tremendous amount of pain, by going through a tremendous amount of hardship. And Adel shared some of that pain, some of that hardship on this podcast that we recorded. How many of you have listened to that episode with Adel? It was our most downloaded of the year. I got more messages, more feedback from that episode than I ever received out of pretty much anything I've done. And every year at the Capitalism Conference, I keep one spot blank. Because inevitably, whenever we do an event, whenever we schedule this, we have a hit list of people that we hope to feature, and we start putting together the puzzle. And I learned after 2 or 3 years of doing this that inevitably after starting to stack this lineup, people were going to come out of the woodwork, or I would meet someone very interesting that just completed the whole puzzle. And I always regretted that I didn't have an extra spot. And sometimes we would squeeze them in, but this year I said, no, we're going to leave one open. I'm going to leave one open because I know I'm going to meet somebody very interesting as we complete this. And when I met Adel, I was like, you're that empty spot. You're that person that completes the rest of this picture. So every time I talk to Adel, I am reminded of what's important, and it makes me want to double down on what's most important in my life. So it's a new friendship, but a deep friendship, and someone that is already having ripple effects in how he shows up and how he impacts entrepreneurs and the rest of the world. Please put your hands together for Adel Sayegh.
Thanks for being here. Thank you for the tea and place, brother. He was one man that I call him love at first sight. The minute I met him in Puerto Rico, I just instantly knew that he was my brother, and I had just lost my brother a few years ago, and you know, there's a part of you that kind of disappears, and Ryan helped fill the emptiness that I had, and just as I got to know him more and more, I just realized how remarkable of a human being that he is, and I am blessed to be invited here. I'm blessed to talk to you guys about life and my journey through life, so thank you for having me here today. My name is Adel Sayegh, and I was one of those guys that started out at age 5. I had to open a radio because I wanted to understand how a radio worked. And at age 16, I was rebuilding my engine, rebuilding my transmission, going through, you know, things I've never done, reading the owner's manual, reading the operator's manual, trying to understand how things worked. And when I graduated high school, I had 3 scholarships to go to anywhere I wanted to go. It was a free ride. I chose to serve my country, join the U.S. Marine Corps, where, thank you. Where shortly after, I was attached to ANGLCO, Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company, and I was retrained the SEALs. Back then, no one knew who the SEALs were. We were actually the unit that were training the SEALs to do what they were doing today. So that was pretty cool. And my life expectancy when we graduated, they said, congratulations, Marines, your life expectancy is 37 minutes. And I remember tapping my friend, I said, what the fuck did he just say? They're like, 37 minutes, what? So the minute that we land, as forward observers, and we call in, you know, enemy, we call in either airstrikes, gunfire, whatever it is that we call in, we're assessing these situations. You got a whole battalion firing at you. They got your signal. I was like, bullshit. I went to Radio Shack, and we bought repeaters, primitive form of repeaters, and I would steal, all right, or borrow back then, cable, and I would just run that cable from tree to tree, and sometimes we'll go like a quarter of a mile, we'd be on top of the hill drinking our drinks and calling artillery fire, and we'd be laughing our butts off when they were throwing smoke grenades thinking that we were somewhere else than where we were. And before you know it, I got a tap on my shoulder. It says, Marine, we're naval intelligence, come here. I was like, oh shit. And it says, tell me this thing that you built. And when I explained it, before you know it, I got recruited into naval intelligence, where I got to see some really cool technology. And shortly after I left, there was an episode on TV of a bank robbery. The SWAT goes in 8 hours later and realized that the robbers had fled before anyone showed up. And I thought, how stupid is that? Today, we know it as, you know, video transmission. 25 years ago, that technology really didn't exist, except in the military. So I knew the technology was there, but it wasn't really utilized. One thing led to another, and before you know it, God took me a completely different path and said, son, today you're gonna be in asset protection or loss prevention. I knew absolutely nothing about it. I got into business not knowing anything because someone had a challenge. And they said, listen, I'm trying to protect this item. It's too small for the current security tags to fit in. Can you create something smaller? And I put 100% of my resources, energy, and life into developing this project, and I met with every engineer you could possibly imagine under the sun, and everyone told me it can't be done. Tyco, back then, owned every intellectual property you can imagine on this product, and I'm like, bullshit, there's better ways to do this. So when everyone told me it can't be done, I went to DeVry, spoke to the professor, and I said, give me your 2 smartest kids. I took the 2 smartest kids, went back to the lab, and for the next 8 weeks, we worked our tail off, and we created, I'm supposed to create the world's smallest tag, and I created a tag about half the size of this, and we had to walk it through the system to get it to operate, and when it rang, it was the most excited day of my life, because I knew we defied the odds. I knew we found technology. And within 2 years, I created the world's smallest tag. You guys see my products. If you've ever gone shopping, every retail store has my products in them. We were exclusive in Macy's, Nordstrom's, and Target. I mean, every retail store that you ever go to, you've seen my products. And then that evolved into security and cameras and systems. And life was amazing by all definition, by all our standards. Materialistically, life was amazing. I could not ask for anything better. I was blessed with a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. I had houses. We were shopping for yachts. We were shopping for private jets. My company at that time, I got offered November 2014, $340 million plus stock options in Stanley. Right now, those stock options, we looked them up not long ago, they were worth over $2 billion. So my company today's dollar value is worth $2.5 billion. So, yeah, you can give that applause. Not bad, not bad. For a little kid that came from a little tiny country and grew up in poverty, you know, did this on my own. My wife and I, 0 capital raise. Then you think life is good, man. I'm buying cars, the most exotic, insane cars you could have imagined, I owned. I'm 49 years old. I'm training for Ironman. I'm in the best shape of my life, even better than I was in the Marine Corps. Because I wanted my 50th birthday gift to be an Ironman competition that I completed. And that was, to me, the most gratifying thing. Materialistically, I owned everything. In health-wise, I was in the best health, but I just wanted to achieve that moment of greatness. And I got a knock on the door. And when I opened up, she said, Adel, buddy, I don't care how much money you got. I don't care who you know. I don't care, give a shit what you invented. My name is Pancreatic Cancer. And there's no escaping me. I went from doctor to doctor, hospital to hospital, recruited. Was part of a group with MD Anderson, Johns Hopkins, Duke University, Stanford University, UCLA, City of Hope, Kaiser, name the institution, I've been there. Name the doctor I spoke to. There was no amount of money that was going to stop me from finding a cure. And every single person told me one thing. I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do. And what do you do when you're faced? You think you got it all figured out, right? Sometimes we strive, we work our asses off, right? 7 days a week. God knows how many hours to achieve what we think is, you know, that level of success, so we can have one word, one thing only. And you know what that is? Peace. I have inner peace. I have enough money. I have inner peace. If I'm happy, I'm peace. I cannot have peace if I'm not happy. I can't have peace if I don't have enough money. I can't have peace if I'm living in scarcity. I can't have peace unless I have the single most important thing in my life, which I didn't know. So now when you're faced with the unthinkable, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a good friend of mine a long time ago. Says, Adel, when I was talking about, you know, by the way, this taekwondo thing, you can imagine, they came to write me a check, and I told them to go, they could do whatever they want to do. And before you know, I'm like one lawsuit after another. I lived my whole entire life with lawsuits. It was like the biggest, like I wish I could turn the clock back, because it was a distraction that I could do away with. And I'm going to tell a lot of you, whenever you're faced with that, we're going to find an alternative, because it never ends well. Even when you win, it doesn't end well. But I didn't know it then. I was young, I was a Marine, I was badass, I wanted to make shit happen. Things always happen on my terms, and when things didn't happen, I made sure they happened. And the same thing here. Doctor says it can't happen, I went out and I created options. Like my friend told me, he goes, man, I said, I have no option but to go through this lawsuit. He goes, bullshit. He goes, choose a dilemma, go out and create options. I didn't mean anything to me then, but now when I'm faced with pancreatic cancer, and they tell me, I'm sorry, there's nothing we could do for you, and every single person, guess what I did? That voice from 10 years ago says, bullshit. Go out and create options. That's what I did. I became an expert. I read every article there's to read. I talked to every doctor there's to talk to. My wife would tell you I did everything there's to know, and I would meet with doctors, and doctors were like, shit, wow, how do you know all this? Dr. Fong is one of the #1 doctors. You pull him up on Google. He refused to meet with anyone. He had like a 9-month wait. Fast forward, I had done a fundraiser, and I raised not a lot of money. It was like $36,000 to City of Hope. But they remembered me. Fast forward, I used that channel. And I said, can you help me out, man? I was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I know Dr. Fong works here. Is there any possibility you could get me in front of him? Before you know, he goes, can you be there tomorrow at 7:30? He starts at 8. I got him to show up a half hour early to meet with you. Man, it was like the most exciting day of my life. I meet with him. Half hour later, guess what he does? He says, Mr. Sayegh, I have never met anyone that's taken this level of interest in themselves as you did. 1 second. He steps out. He tells his secretary, he goes, or nurse, he goes, do you mind changing patient so-and-so and patient so-and-so to these doctors? And he spends another 2 hours with me. And we whiteboard every possibility. He goes, there's not a lot of doctors in the world that would do this. He goes, I'm willing to do it. He goes, I'm willing to do this surgery, but I'm going to tell you something. there's a man by the name of Dr. DeFranzo, because I trained him at Johns Hopkins. And he says, I say he's young. He's younger than me. He goes, I like to think I'm the best doctor there is. He goes, we all have egos. He goes, but this doctor, at what you want to do, he might be the right doctor for you. And my wife and I, we tried to get a hold of him. And of course, when you're that popular, you're a year out. And my wife is pleading with his nurse, like, please, like, is there anything you can do? He's like, I'm sorry. She hangs up, and I was laying on the couch, and I could hear the conversation. And my wife is just, she kind of, catches herself and just, fixes herself up. Like, baby, it's okay. We're good. Dr. Fung is all right. And while she's telling me this, the phone rings. And it's Dr. DeFranzo's office. She's like, you're not going to believe this. We just had a cancellation. Would you like to come in? 5:30 in the morning. I couldn't wait. We got in the car. We drove to LA. We waited in the parking lot for 2 hours because I did not want to get stuck in traffic and miss that appointment. I had that surgery. And everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. Everything that they warned me about went wrong. I was leaking more fluids than you could possibly imagine. Every 2 weeks, we flipped a coin because I had to have a procedure. I was either going to the morgue or going home. I would spend countless days in the hospital, 30, 40, 56 days was the longest stretch I've spent continuously. And my wife never left my bedside. I used to say, look, baby, please get out of here. Just go have a wine. Like, are you kidding? Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? Leave you? And if I was home, if I was in the hospital, because I was leaking so much fluids, I have 4 kids. 2 of my kids are here. Where's my wife and my kids, by the way? They're around here somewhere. They might be inside. But 2 of my kids, all my 4 kids, they had an alarm on their phone. They had to get up every hour on the hour to empty out the bag. I wanted to invent a bag. It was like, bullshit. A bag that only lasts an hour? Let me invent something. I realized I was one of the only ones I've ever had recorded that much leaking fluid. So that wasn't going to go. I was going to invent one bag. That wasn't going to help me out much. So we lived with that level of uncertainty for a long period of time. And when you think you got it all figured out, fuck, you got life figured out. I got my business. I got my house. I got this. Everything's going perfect. Doesn't always work out that way. We hope that it works out that way, but the reality is, this is life. And life is full of surprises. And I heard people come up here and say, it's like getting punched in the mouth with going to business. Yeah, it depends who's fucking doing the punching. If Mayweather was up here punching your ass ain't getting up. I promise you. So some people punch lightly, and you can take some of those punches. But some of the other punches that you get in life, a lot worse than those that you're not prepared for. And what happens when you work all your life doing what you're doing? Trust me, you're not here because you want to be here. You're sacrificed to be here. And your family is sacrificing as a result of you being here. But you're sacrificing for something so much bigger and so much greater than you. If your sacrifice is going to end up on an ego path, I want to be the most popular, I want to get the most votes, I want to get the most thumbs up, I want to be the most creative technology, that's short-lived. I promise you. And if you're focused on trophies, fucking trophy ain't worth shit, especially to the next generation or the generation after that. And if you watch Pawn Stars, you see all those trophies and everything else. Like, man, how could they do that? But that's reality. They don't have the same level of appreciation, of attachment. Now think about your level of appreciation and attachment. You're going through this, and I'm now coming home, and I'm limping, and I'm on all these meds. Do you really think for a split second the amount of houses or the size of the house I lived in mattered? Do you think for a split second when I was walking, the size of my bank account mattered? Or the fact I billed $1 billion? Do you think any of that really fucking mattered? All I wanted to do is get well. And I got to a point where I had to make a decision. I was in the hospital, and the doctor says, we got to do something. You're refusing to do chemo. You're refusing radiation. Why? Because I wanted to go holistic. And I want to do it on my own with, of course, the help of God. But I didn't know that at that time. But I thought I could do this on my own. I thought this is doable. And I could just knock it out of the ballpark. And then I take the surgery where they said, listen, just understand there is a 97% chance that you will go to the morgue and a 3% chance that you will survive. But my alternative is I do nothing, and if I'm lucky, months, a year, 2 years, I could go 5 years. Statistics say that. But all of a fucking sudden, I'm no longer Adel Sayegh. Guess what? I'm a fucking statistics now. I'm a statistic to every single person I was meeting. And when I'm meeting with those doctors that you thought had my personal interests, they did as long as I was with them for 15 minutes, half hour, 2 hours. And then guess what? They went on to the next patient and the next patient. And guess what? When they went home, they weren't thinking about me or my wife or my kids. They have their own problems at home. They have their own marital problems. They have their own problems with their own kids. They have their own problems with their own businesses. They have problems the same way we have problems. And sometimes even bigger problems because they don't have the mindset or entrepreneurship to solve problems like you guys do. So all of a sudden, my life is at the mercy of God. And I learned one thing. No one will ever take care of me, and no one will ever take care of you the way you can take care of you. Not your mother, not your father, not your doctor, not your brother, not your sister. So you got to take care of you. And you can't fucking rely on anyone else. Period. So when I passed that, and doctor says, here it is, my brother and I went to the hospital at the same time, the same day actually. We arrived in different ambulances, we were living in the same city, but completely, opposite sides of the city. But we end up at the same hospital, like 25 miles away at the same time. My wife is seeing his family's like, oh, what are you guys doing here? Thinking that they're there for me, and vice versa. My brother who was also an oncologist at City of Hope, got diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. So now we're in the hospital at the same time. My mom is dealing with not losing one, but she's losing 2 kids. My brothers, sisters, everybody that's what we're dealing with. And so my brother was supposed to go home, and I was not when we arrived. But God had different plans. God didn't think he wanted him around longer, and he just says, you know what, Del, I'm going to give you a shot. Keep you around a little bit longer. See what you can do with this opportunity. So I survived what I thought was the impossible. This is now November, and I'm trying to recover. I lost a lot of my pancreas, tons of surgeries. And I get the dreaded phone call. It says, Adel, the books and the finances, they're not what they are. I'm like, what? I got like one of the best board. How many of you know Keith Cunningham? Any of you? One of the most dynamic person. He sat on my board. So I had the who's who sitting on my board. And there was a moment in time where I said, Adel, man, your company's doing so good. Why don't you just stay home? I was like, man. At first, I was a little offended. It's like my baby, I was like, grew this company from scratch. And like, all of a sudden, you got to give it up. It's like that bittersweet. I just dropped my 2 kids off to college. And there's that, your proud moment as a daddy, you drop your kids, but that, when you're going home almost feeling empty. And I was feeling like a little bit of that. But, there's a moment of, okay, you know what? They're grown up. They could handle it on their own. I'm glad that my company got to the point where they don't need me anymore. And then we looked at the numbers, and the numbers were not what they seemed. And I was like, holy cow, this is the most loyal, trusted people. The girl that was in charge, been with me for 14 years. What's happening? And so we started doing more research, and I sat on a federal board at the time, and I can't get into details, but let's just say I had someone look into, a third party look into my numbers, and they tell me, you're fucked. I said, what? I flew and I met with Keith. He says, you're bankrupt. I said, what? He's like, dude, they embezzled more money. You got nothing. I said, bullshit. I built this company, what it is. I went out and I started liquidating every asset I have. I was liquidating real estate like a fire sale. I was like, boom, boom, boom. I was 5 million here, 10 million here, 50 million here. And I was just taking every money, just dumping it back into the business, thinking, fuck, I'm going to turn this thing around. Not realizing the magnitude of the problem, because They cooked the book so good, I only had visibility to one side. I didn't realize this, that it was so much bigger than I realized what I was getting into. And all of a sudden, I survived the unthinkable to deal with this? Are you fucking kidding me? And guess what? Now I'm talking to bankrupt attorneys. It's like, whoever would have thought that? Like, fuck, I'm talking to a bankruptcy attorney. Man, my pride, my ego, I was getting jabbed. I was like, holy shit, wait, is this really happening? And then when I met with the attorneys, he said, Adel, the trustee is ready to come after you. I said, what? Yeah, you empowered, and they look at the agreement where you gave empowerment, full empowerment to these executives. They're not going after these executives, they're going after you. The feds and law enforcement take care of the executives, but they're going after you financially because the way they spent finances, you're personally responsible for it. Every asset protection attorney I had, and let me just tell you, I had a whole bunch. I had 36 LLCs. You thought I used to walk around thinking my shit like I was like solid. There's nothing that could break this VL, nothing. I had like the best of the best attorneys drove up, the best of the best. I had shit everywhere. I had red line, regular line. No one, I was untouchable. Until it comes to federal. And he says, wait, Adel, this is federal. If they want to go after you because there's a trustee, you got no protection. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking I had it all figured out, ready to retire, training for Ironman. Shit, look at my health. I'm about to bankrupt, and the trustee's going to go after me personally for whatever remaining assets. Are you fucking kidding me? And we looked at everything else. I had to liquidate everything down to zero. We were literally talking about looking at apartments and starting my whole life all over again from scratch. Now imagine you dealt that card. Because any one of us in here could be dealt that card tomorrow. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. The minute we walk out of here, it's not guaranteed. But imagine you dealt that card. What are you doing? You're not prepared. That's not fucking Mayweather up here punching your ass. And you're going to get knocked out. And a lot of people, unfortunately, sadly, never recover. For the first time in my life, I'm having second thoughts about, was life worth living? It's like, God, really, you saved me this? So I could deal with this shit? Like, really? I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. So I bankrupted my company. The toughest day of my life then. Well, at least I thought. And it's Good Friday. We're at a church. And I'm sitting, and my wife is with me. I had not mentioned anything. By the way, I have 4 kids. My 2 oldest are the only ones that knew are my wife. I'm one of 10 kids. 1 had passed. Not all my brothers, not simple. And we're a very, very close family. Not a single friend knew. Not a single soul knew what was going on in my life. I kept it to myself. I figured, you know what? I could deal with this. Why ruin their lives? Why ruin them? And, part of it, that's what I was thinking about. Part of it was probably ego. Part of it, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it was because I don't know. But it was probably a combination of all things. But all I know is I'm dealing and I'm thinking like stupid thoughts. The kind of thoughts that if your brother or your sister or your sibling, you're going to slap them up, it's like, wake up. Right? But we're all human, we're all natural, but I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for what was coming next. So all of a sudden now I'm thinking, wow, from scratch, I'm too old for this shit. And I go to my brother-in-law who just moved in from Syria. He's a refugee. He's here from Syria recently. And he lives in an apartment. He refused, I said, man, come live with us. Like, brother, I love you. I'm a man. I could do this on my own. So he got an apartment. He was working at Lowe's, doing whatever it is. I go to his house. And man, they were laughing and joking and playing cards. And life was so simple. They were enjoying it. And here I'm in Beverly Hills or Bel Air or Malibu at these $100 million, whatever it is. They're fucking miserable. The wife is nagging at the husband. The kids are throwing a tantrum because they don't have the latest games and everything else. And it helped for the first time in my life I'm seeing the perspective, and it's helping me put things in perspective. And I'm realizing, wait a minute. We are given the greatest gifts, but sometimes we just don't see it because we're too fucking stupid, looking so far behind where we're supposed to be, that sometimes the most beautiful things are right in front of us, but we just don't see it. That day at church when I was wobbling, I got a tap on the shoulders, happened to be a relative doctor. He goes, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling good." He goes, "Come outside, man." He gives me an aspirin. He goes, "You're going to the ER." I said, "No, I know what I need to do." I grabbed my wife and said, "Baby, do you mind?" My entire family was at church at that day. It's Good Friday. And I said, "Just grab everyone, and I want to explain." So I took my brothers. She took the girls aside, so I just wanted to talk privately. And I'm talking to my brother and say, "Guys, here's what's going on." And they're like, "Are you?" You know, everybody's like, "Ah." And I have my brother who's a chef, who's a cook. He said, "No, I know the best fucking attorney. Oh my God, this guy will sue them." And I know another guy. He goes, "Oh man, I know a cop that knows a cop. He will go out there, he's gonna arrest their asses." And this guy's telling me this. Is like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm looking at my wife like, "Baby, what? I didn't come here for this." And I get in my car and I'm driving, like, fuck. I was like so pissed off. I thought I was gonna feel better. And I was so angry leaving there, feeling worse. I was like, fuck, I wish somebody would talk to me the way I would talk to me. Because I didn't know what I would say to me, but I didn't have that one person in my life. And before we left, one of my brothers goes, "Adel, you know, maybe it's time to get on your knees and pray." And I walked up to them and said, "Get on my knees?" I said, "Get on your knees, you fucking cowards." I said, "I'm sorry. I'll leave that. If I got on my knees when the doctors told me to get on my knees, I would not be here. I'll leave getting on knees to someone else, and I'm out of here." And that's when I left, really angry. The next morning, my wife's going, it's a special, that's like a culturally Saturday, that's like the most sacred Saturday. It's like Good Friday, the Resurrection Sunday, and it's just for our family. It's like a really, I've never in my life missed that day. I missed Easter's, I missed Good Friday, so I was traveling. I had to be in New York, I'm back from New York, but I never missed that day, and it's sacred, and my family knows how important and sacred that day is. My wife's waking me up like, "Baby, let's go, we gotta go." I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going." And I'm laying in bed just like, "Baby, come on, this is like really important, come on, you gotta go." And I said, "No, baby, I'm not ready, I'm not, you guys go." And I said, "No, baby." It's like, long story, she leaves me alone. And my first out-of-body experience where I literally felt like I was sucked out of my body, and I'm looking down, I'm like, what the fuck? And I see this guy, I know it's me, but I'm like, who the fuck is this pathetic, what the fuck? I'm looking, I can't believe this is me laying in bed, turning around like, what the fuck happened to you? And it's all of a sudden, I was like, what the hell was that? I get in, go to my closet, I put my gym, I have not been to the gym for 18 months because of all the surgeries. I get in my McLaren, right, my $2 million baby, and I'm like, I drive it to LA Fitness. And I go there and I park the farthest car, like Saturday afternoon, there's not a lot of cars, but I still park far away. I come out, I program Rocky Balboa, right, originally Barbie. And so I programmed that and I put it on repeat. You know, Eye of the Tiger and the original Rocky, 2 songs. And I put them on repeat. I go to the gym and honestly, God my witness, I had absolutely no idea what I did there for 4 hours. But I walked out completely drenched. I was like, holy shit, like, I'm looking like, what just happened? I couldn't tell you what machine, what I did, nothing. All I know is I walk out and there's a piece of shit banged up car with his door open, and from that angle, it looked like he's hit my car. And I'm walking, like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm walking, like, what the fuck? And I'm walking there like, I want to kick this guy's ass now, right? I felt like Mayweather. I'm ready to do some ass kicking now. And I'm like, "Sir, do you mind?" I look, and he's just like barely touching my car. I said, "Do you mind closing the door so I get in?" And this wacky man comes like, "Oh my gosh, what are you gonna do to get one of these? What are you gonna do to get one of these?" And I look up, and I said, "You just have to have enough faith in God that all things are possible." He's like, "Oh, no, I don't believe in God." I said, you don't believe in God? I said, what awful bad thing ever happened to you that you don't believe in God? He said, oh, when I was younger, I got accused of touching a girl inappropriately. I ended up going to jail, man. I can't get a job. Look at this piece of shit car. My son bought it for me, man. I live with my parents. You believe that shit? I'm 55 years old. And like, man, life sucks. I said, what's your name? He goes, Rocky. I said, Rocky, I wish I had 15 minutes. Because I would love to put you in my car and take you to this place called Casa Clina. Well, it's a rehab center where I will introduce you to guys that have billions, got in a motorcycle car accident. Let's just see if they would trade places with you just so you grab a hamburger and take a bite with 2 hands. Let's see if any of these rich guys would trade places with someone in Skid Row just to have the ability to be able to clean themselves. You have the most beautiful, loving kids that give you a car. You got parents that love you dearly. They kept you in their house. Man, the most beautiful things are funny, but you're just too fucking stupid to see that. By the time I got done with them, he promised me, he goes, you know what? I'm going to go to church. I get in my car, start my car, I drive like 10 feet, and I'm rolling. And I look up, I says, really? It's Rocky, huh? Today, I can't tell you if Rocky was really there. I know I felt him. I know he was there. But I can't really know. I don't know. All I know is I know he's talking to me. The same way I'm talking to you. Sometimes the most beautiful things are right in front of us. But we're just too stupid to see it because we're just so focused on our bills and our problems, on our business, and this betrayed me, and this guy said this about me, and this guy hurt me, and this person left me, and this. And man, just right in front of you, you got your eyesight. Do you know how many people just don't, or our limbs, our ability not to walk around with an oxygen tank. Like we have the most beautiful blessings, but sometimes we just get so focused on other problems in our lives that we forget about the single most important thing, man, what we're truly blessed. You guys are hearing this conversation not by fluke, not by chance. I promise you that. Ryan asked me, he goes, Adel, I would love to hear you speak. I said, what do you want? I said, no, forget it. You know what? I'm going to let God lead me. Because I know I'm going to speak to you, some of you, to your hearts and your souls. And I hope that's what I accomplished today. Because let me just tell you this. I've had it all. That's not going to make you any fucking happier. If you can't be happy today with what you got, I don't give a shit how much more how much abundance God's going to throw at you. You're not going to be happier tomorrow. You'll find something to complain about. I promise you. If you can't enjoy this moment right now, like the moment with your family, the moment with your friends, the moment with your coworkers, the moment that you're meeting with people, man, what a blessing. Because let me just tell you this. We are the trusted ones. I believe in God a lot, especially after what I went through. And let me just tell you this, man. Look at the cards God dealt us. He said, you know what? One of my favorite stories of the parables is when he gives the talents. And look at all the talent around here. God gave it a lot of talent. Question is, he's trusting us with because we're not, listen, look around. Not a single one of us is immune from that day. Every single one of us is going. Right? So the whole idea is, if I know I'm going, and I know that this place is here on a short term, am I going to leave this place better than I found it? Am I only focused, and we heard about community. I'm going to change the word a little bit. I love everything that Ryan said. But you know what community is? It's no longer about you. And if you think it's about you, it's petty. If your dreams are too small that they don't scare you, they're too fucking small. Your dreams should be scaring the hell out of you right now. Because otherwise you have no faith. If you can't walk with faith, man, let me just tell you this. God was not in my life. And that day, after being Rocky, I went home. I said, God, I got on my knees. I said, I'm not good at this. I don't know how to, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. But I surrender. I surrender all my problems, surrender all my worries, surrender all my care to you. And I swear to God, with my wife, I want her to be here because she'll tell you, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning with like the most amazing download. And I was just writing. And the only way I could describe it to every single person here, imagine driving through your car, right? And you're driving through life, and your windshield, you got bugs and dirt and mud and shit coming from every direction. And that shit builds up over life. And you got these little holes, and we're navigating life. Man, is it a green light? Is it a red light? Do I go faster? Do I slow down? And that's how we navigate in life. And imagine having Windex, and somebody just cleaned up the entire windshield, and all of a sudden you can see everything crystal clear. That's the gift that God has given me. It's like all of a sudden I see things from a completely different perspective. And all of a sudden now I make the most righteous decisions in my life because I learned one thing, man. You right now that's suffering or struggling or going through a problem in your business, in your life, and whatever it is that you're dealing with, the only way I learned to get over my problems is I looked at it from God's perspective. When I looked at my darkest moments of my life, there were nothing more than pivoting points to something so much greater and so much better than I ever thought possible. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, isn't that faith? Isn't that faith? Imagine this. Remember the car I was talking to you about? I apologize. But imagine the car I was talking to you guys about. We, every single one of us, and this is now sounds like a sermon, right? But every single one of us is given literally an owner's manual. The same way our forefathers came to the U.S. and says, hey, listen, the United States is going to be different than any place on this planet. And we're going to write our own CC&Rs, right? We're going to write our own constitution. We're not going to complicate it. But it's going to be our First Amendment. The most important thing is what? Freedom. Our freedom to speech and protest and do whatever it is. My freedom to do what I want. I could practice I could do whatever I want. That was what our forefathers, and we're so protective of that. Hundreds of years later, 2,000 years ago, somebody says, here's an owner's manual. And let me just tell you this, when I flip through the channel and I say like depression, man, stress, anxiety, fear. Imagine this, imagine walking your life and every business decision you're making now. From a place of fear, you act from a place of faith. You execute from a place of faith. You know why? Because imagine you're up there and you hear this voice, like I was telling Damien, hey, I got you. Imagine you're about to make a business transaction and you hear this voice in the back of your ear. It says, Tony, Johnny, Jeff, I got you. Dinesh, I got you, man. That's faith. Imagine having that level of faith in your life. What would you be scared of? What can you possibly be scared of? If life is happening for you, meaning that life is either happening for you or happening to you, when life happens to you, life fucking sucks. We all know that. Like, why does this always happen to me? Versus, man, waking up like, God, thank you, God, for blessing me. The most amazing wife. Thank you, God, for blessing me with great kids. Thank you, God, for blessing me with the ability to come out here and just meet people. Thank you, God, for dealing me a card to live in the U.S. and not live in Afghanistan and be chasing my kids. Because that could be the card that God dealt us. We could be in Syria like the refugees or Iran or some of these countries where a lot of the people are being prosecuted. Imagine living there with your level of intelligence, your level of passion, your level of wanting to take things to the next level. Imagine you being that person that wants to change the world and you're in a fucking country you can't do shit about it. Imagine being that person. So I'm talking to you guys saying, listen, you guys are trusted. You're hearing this for a reason, I promise you. God has trusted you with this much. The same way I trust my kids. I give them a little to see how well they do. And if they do well, I'm going to give them a little bit more. I'm going to give them a little bit more. That's how God operates. If he trusts you with a little bit. Question is, can he trust you with a lot? And I promise you, if he could trust you and you put God is first in your life, I promise you my life. Your life now is completely on a different terms. Guess why? Because it comes down to one thing. We're talking about peace, but let's talk about happiness. Who could rob you of your happiness? Only one person on this planet could rob you of your joy. That's who? You. Your happiness. Who could rob you of your happiness? The only person, wait a minute, if you're on control and you allow outside interference, that bad deal just went through, it's like, fuck, I lost this. Oh shit, my business happened. Or this, I just lost my partner. Or my key employee just left and started his own business to compete with me. Shit's gonna happen. I promise you, if it hasn't happened, it will happen. Now, the question is, if you know it's gonna happen, you're gonna let it bother you? And he says, baby, come on, I already knew it's coming. I already knew it was happening. My life is being guided. I'm in here for a purpose. And this is what I want to talk to you guys today about. If you don't believe that your life has a purpose, then your life has no meaning. Then you're not living life to the fullest. If you're not grateful for what you have, right? I always say, exchange. The minute I became happy, the minute I exchanged my expectations of what I was expecting from everybody, people, family, whatever, I had my expectations. I changed every single expectation to one word. You know what that was? Appreciation. All of a sudden, I was appreciative for my wife or my daughter or the things that used to annoy me or the people that just all of a sudden, I was like, man, I feel like God is like leading me in a way where I could see things from any perspective that I want to see things. Now imagine God's perspective, and I'll give you this. You, first car, brand new, you're driving it home, you're so excited, you want to show off your wife, your husband, your daughter, your son, man, you're driving your brand new car, you just can't wait to show off your friends. It's your Ferrari, it's your Lambo, whatever your dream car is. You're driving and you look in your rearview mirror, you're on a light, and this idiot in a truck is texting, is not paying attention, boom! Totals your car, brand new car. You just took it out of the parking lot, the dealer lot. What do? Usually one of three ways, right? One is you're going to get out of your car and probably rip his heart out and let him know what you think of him for texting and not paying attention. The second way is about, fuck, me, my luck. Damn, always happens to me. Shit like this always happens to me. Business, partners, this, why even bother? I knew the minute I was going to get this, the shit was going to happen. People jinx me, they envy me, whatever it is. Or the third way is, God, you all right? Man, I'm all right. God, thank you, man. Thank you for making me walk away from this, because I know insurance will cover this. Now, the situation hasn't changed, has it? The circumstances has not changed, have they? The only thing that has changed is your perception. You could choose to see things the way you want to see things. You could choose to be happy, because it's a choice. Happiness is a choice. Remember that. No one could rob you but you. So if you guys are given choices to be entrepreneurs, if you guys are given choices to make this place better than you find it, if you're given an opportunity that says, you know what, this guy's not supposed to be on stage. This guy went through pain. Like, why is he here? Why is he talking to me? Because like he's saying, man, this is our opportunity. This is your opportunity to do something greater than you. When I hear Ryan talking about the community, why not make it a great community? Why not build? Bullshit. Every single person that never did is going to tell you all the reasons why it's not going to work. Everyone was going to tell you why, because it never fucking worked for them. And sadly, people don't want to see other people successful. But when I look at this and I mingled with some of the people and I hear Ryan talking, I see what the community is about. It's about love. It's about respect. It's about passion. He's all about here talking about, it's about the community, what he means about the community. It's not about you. And the minute you wake up in the morning thinking, knowing it's not about you, it's so much bigger than you, I promise you, there's no stress, there's no anxiety, you're not going to have any bad days because something's pulling you. Because you know in your DNA, in your heart, and I know I'm speaking to some of your souls in here, in your heart and your DNA, you know you're so much better than you are right now. And the only thing that limited you is one word, fear. Fucking fear, because you did not have the faith that you need, because no one ever explained it to us. You hear people, when I go to churches, everybody wants to explain the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament. You know what? Fuck. You guys missed the whole point. It's like the CCNR, he's just talking about forgiveness, he's talking about love. He's like, don't worry about petty shit, just move on. Focus on something so much bigger than you. Leave this place better, live happy, and that's all it teaches you, how to live happy, how to live, man. And if you had an owner's manual, I'd tell you how to live a perfect life, why would you not? If you could have that level of confidence where you walk in and you want to interact with a business, you want to interact with someone, and you hear that voice like, I got you. You got this, because I'm going to tell you, your intuition hasn't fucking failed you. Your heart has not failed you. And if it has failed you, I promise you're not here. Listen to this. This is your true north. Stay the fuck out of here. A lot of you, I know you're laughing because you know who I'm talking to. This will fuck with you all day, every day. I promise you. This will tell you, who the fuck are you kidding? Who are you man, I know, remember when you were 12 years old? Remember that shit that you did? Remember this? Remember this? You should be ashamed. You should be this. This is what it's programmed to do. It's going to fuck with you. Your head would tell you why you can't do all the things that God wants you to do. God instilled dreams in you. The devil doesn't come from out of nowhere. Just understand, man, that's an inspiration. Your dream, your business, what you want to do, that's like a God inspiration. If he inspired you, what are you going to do about it? And I'm going to ask you this one thing, man. Whatever problem you have, can I get everybody just close your eyes for just a second? I just want to just think of a problem that you have right now, or something that you're struggling with right now that you haven't been able to answer it. And I just want you to look at it from God's perspective. Just look at your problem from God's perspective. And if you see it from God's perspective, do you think God means any harm for you? Do you think God wishes you harm or wishes you not well? Man, you're hearing this because I'm as true and solid. Open your eyes, but I'm going to tell you. If you look at it, guys, from perspective, your problem diminishes, because I'm going to tell you right now, exchange all your fears for faith, and that you're going to live life in your terms. I don't want to go over. I don't know if we have a Q&A, but listen, I just want to thank you for the time. I'm here to talk to you from the heart. I just want to let you guys know, you guys are amazing at things, and don't allow your dreams to diminish or stop because of fear. I'm here to tell you, you guys, let's just break through barriers. Let's become dreamers. Let's be the ones that break the barriers. Here, under this man's leadership, you have the ability to break every barrier that man and woman had ever set before you, because you're the new generation. You're the new clans. You're the new torches. Right? I'm handing you guys a torch. What are you going to do with it? I'm telling you, God is trusting you with whatever dream you have. What are you going to do with it? If that dream, if you have that level of faith, and I'm telling you to have that level of faith, and you're hearing me because I wanted you to have that level of faith, what are you going to do about your dream? Are you going to continue fucking dreaming and find every excuse why you can't do it? Or are you going to make sure it happens? So you know what, God? I know I heard this. I know my dream. I know my true north. I'm going to make it happen. And if it doesn't, I know I'm going to learn from it. You live life on those terms. I promise you, you're going to live life, the most amazing life. And my wish and my prayer for you guys is to live life on your terms, to live life with joy, to live life with happiness, to live life stress-free, or at least have the ability to be able to deal with stress. I wish you nothing but happiness and love, and thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you, guys. Oh.
Adel, there's something that you told me when we first met that I said, can you repeat that one, please? And it was
what was that?
You said that if you were offered $10 billion, tax-free.
Yes. Sounds pretty stressed. So the question is...
Well, let me finish. He said, if you offered me $10 billion in order to undo the cancer diagnosis, the embezzling from your company, the loss of all of the financials, you said, are you crazy? I wouldn't trade that for nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Could you comment on that?
Absolutely. Listen. So my goal in life, and we all have goals, every single one of us. I know if you didn't have goals, you would not be in here. So I know you come here with goals and ambitions and passion and drive. And like you, I had the same goals and ambition and drive, and part of it was monetary. I wanted to hit $1 billion. That was like really important to me for family, and not a single person in my family or ever has ever achieved those numbers. And like, man, I want to hit that number. And then after going through what I shared with you, and I didn't share with you a lot of stuff about how my wife and I operated on me, but that'll be a different conversation. But what I'm going to let you know is, here I wanted to grow $1 billion company, and then I went through all these trials in medical and losing my company and the uncertainty and everything else. And the question is, would I ever, if I had to turn the clock back and somebody says, hey, Adel, remember that $1 billion? Here's a check for $10 billion. And by the way, we paid your taxes. You don't have to pay taxes on this. You do whatever you want. You want to donate it. You want to build something. You want to build a company. You want to build this. You want to build whatever it is. It's yours to do whatever it is. But in order to get it, we're going to turn the clock back. Meaning, you never got sick. You never had to go what you went through. And you never lost your business. You'll be back to where you were. would you do it? And the answer was like, hell no. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? There's not enough money in the world. Man, I live on my terms. Nothing upsets me. I'm human. I get upset. I get emotional. Even yesterday we got upset. But how long does it last? 15 minutes. We got a rule, family rule, right, Nicole? By the way, that's my wife and my beautiful daughter right there, Marlene. And just so you guys know how I move, I met her, 2 days we're engaged. 2 weeks later, we're married. That was 25 years ago. So when you know, you know. And when I'm telling you right now.
This is not relationship advice provided by capitalism.com.
But the whole idea is, listen, don't think. And the reason why we want to just make sure that you guys really truly understand this, because look, there's a lot of gifted people. I had a chance to meet with an amazing young man, Damien. I'm going to tell you, if you had not, Damien, stand up. I just want you to stand up for a second. He's at 21. Stand up. Come on, give him a round of applause. I want to give him a round. I met this kid yesterday. He's 21 years. He left an incredible, incredible impression in my life because his questions and his way of life, and he realizes it's so much bigger than him. He wants it. I was like, man, this kid is going to do amazing things in his life. I promise you. Get his autograph now before it becomes really expensive. But he's going to do amazing things. And I think every single person I met in here possesses the same love and wants success. And all I'm saying is, man, live it on your terms. Live it where you don't need a $10 billion. Live it where it says, you know what? I don't want to go through life's trials. I want to be tested. I want to be tested for my faith. I want to know that he could trust me. And I want him to know that I'm there. Because if he could trust me, I promise you, you trust me with a little, you're going to get a little. If you trust him with a lot, he's going to give you a lot. And that's, to me, like, I was just telling him all of a sudden, out of the blue, like, I'm getting all these projects thrown at me. One is just a recent, like, $6 billion with a B dollar project. I don't know nothing even about what the hell I'm doing. But all of a sudden, it's amazing how God works in the most mysterious ways. But do I need that to make me happy? Hell no. I actually want to turn that to somebody else, because all I'm going to tell you is happiness is within. Happiness is within.
And there's been a theme that you've heard throughout the last day and a half, last 2 days, of those trial periods give you the context for you to get to that place of peace, of happiness. There's a story I haven't told publicly, and I'm not even sure I'm allowed to yet, but there was we'll just say a couple of years ago, there was a situation within one of my companies that some people did some things that I didn't know about, and there was a potential for serious legal trouble. And there was a chance that they could have come after me and I could have gone to jail. And there, like, meetings with the FBI. Thankfully, I was helping them. They weren't after me. But I got to a place where my son was 5 days old. I'm now in the middle of a situation that I didn't know existed, and there were bad actors. And I had actually come to a place where I envisioned myself losing my companies, losing my reputation, losing my freedom, and being locked up. And that was just a little stressful. And I actually had to play that out in my brain until I was able to come to the situation, the conclusion of, if I can get to that place, or if I get to that place, can I still be happy? I actually called a friend of mine who had been through an almost exact same situation. He was the first person I called, where he had been part of a company. The feds decided he should have known what was going on. He didn't know what was going on. He went to jail for almost 2 years. And he said to me, when I went through that, I was able to become happy in that process. And as a result, everything else is a bonus. And so I made the decision in that moment that if I got through this, and I knew I would just decide that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I would decide that on the other side of that, if I can be happy with the idea of losing my freedom, then everything else is a bonus. Everything else is playtime. Everything else is awesome. Like waking up in the morning and leaving my house and feeling the sun on my face. Like, I could have lost that. As simple as that.
Yep.
And I am not yet at the point where I say, yeah, I'm totally thankful for that entire situation. But I can say that it provided the context for me to be able to be happy no matter what the situation is.
Yep.
I don't want to test God on that one. Like, be happy no matter what. But it gave me some context for a new appreciation of things. And often we want to go through challenges by avoiding them. And I think you're a living proof of the fact that going through them takes you to
Amen.
a different place. And I believe you when you say, like, you are the happiest you've ever been in your life.
Absolutely.
Is
And
that-
my family would tell you that. Like I said, it's just, my life has changed financially. It's not, I enjoy getting off my 4x4 truck or whatever it is, than any exotic car I ever owned. You know, it's just, there's a sense of you, like, you've been there, you've done that, but man, there's nothing greater. There's absolutely nothing greater than waking up from a place of gratitude. I wake up every morning, an hour, he'll tell you, you get a lot of messages,
Yep.
but my first hour of the morning is with my best friend in the world. It's with my God. I have conversations, like literally one-on-one conversations. God, what do you think of this? You know, God, I'm thinking, and it's amazing because I'm talking, and I get inspired. I'm in a grateful place. I'm always texting messages, inspiring other people to become better and just reminding them how much God loves them and just reminding them what our purpose is. Because let me just say this. You have to find your purpose. Every single one of us was created with a purpose. What is your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? It ain't about making money, and it ain't about podcasting, I promise you, and it ain't about building products. That's just going to get you to where you want. That's your end goal. What is your end goal? And if you don't know what your end goal, man, it's like, I was talking to Damien, it's like getting in a car without a GPS, without a destination. You'll eventually get there, but how efficient were you getting there? And how much peace of mind did you have getting there when you're like, fuck, did I go the wrong way? Am I driving the wrong way? And remember the confidence I was talking about? That whisper in your ear? That means no regrets. Somebody asked me, said, do you have any regrets? I said, fuck no. Not anymore, I don't. Because at the time when I made that decision, it's based on that moment in time, all the information that's provided to me, I made a decision in that moment in time, and if I had to I'll take the leap of faith. But you know what? When I do that, there is no looking back. There's not, man, I wish I did this different. Bullshit. You know what? We learned, we made a decision, let's focus forward. Let's fix the problem, and we focus on the bigger things versus why I did this. I should have not done this. Listen, you made that decision. Live with it, accept it. It was part of the task that you're given. Now you just move on to bigger and better things. You know what not to do. That's how I look at it. Those are little life lessons that says, fuck, I'll never do that again. I'll never listen to a doctor again. She'll tell you. I love them. I love doctors. If you're a doctor, I respect you.
This
but
is
I don't
not
listen
medical
to them.
advice provided by capitalism.com.
I live with me 24/7. I'm not going to let somebody tell me how I'm feeling or what. I live in me 24/7, man. I know what's good for me. I know what's not bad. I know when I eat, what upsets my stomach, what doesn't. I know what makes me feel. I know when I go to the gym and I'm hitting, I wake up in the morning, I'm feeling great, and I don't go to the gym, I'm sluggish. My body tells me. Start listening to it.
Adel, you inspire me every day, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
Adel
Thank you for the
Sayegh one more time.
opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
That's it.